Good morning. It's 24th of March, and it is wait, day 6. Like hell it is. Day 36. We're at, let me drop these word windows here. We are at day 36, one day past 5 weeks. Pretty exciting. Um, haven't, haven't have been much further than this in the past. Normally, when I go for a quit, I usually aim for 6 weeks as like a detox, and 6 weeks is usually long enough to get the dope out of my system before I join back up in whatever format it is that I plan on joining in. So, yeah, so we're approaching week 6. Again, my plan is 90 days, 3 months, and then after that, I'm going to reevaluate what's going on and figure out where I'm at. Um, but yeah, had a big workout yesterday, feeling worn out. Um, did leg day. Here's a piece of advice for anyone who's watching this: don't skip leg day. Um, when you go back to do it, if you skip a week, skip a couple of weeks, like me, skip maybe 3 weeks, and just work on deadlift and bench and accessories, you'll get some nice upper body changes and some good back strength, but you'll miss out on all that balance, and you'll end up looking like a chicken walking around with skinny legs and a big upper body. So, but it's nice actually because it turned into a competitive lift where my buddy was, um, I was training him, you know, free of charge. It's the kind of nice guy that I am, and I would give him more to do, and then I would do that myself. I promised him that I would. I said, I'll do one extra. Um, One of the things that came up yesterday when I was talking with him was with the friend that I was at the gym with was it seemed like he is throwing himself into tasks, and he's no naming names, but this friend is unemployed and going through the rigors of sort of, I think it's depression probably, and I recognize the behavior myself because I went through the same thing when I got fired from a job, a big job that I had, a job that made me feel important and competent, even though I wasn't really doing the work required and I wasn't really fitting in with the culture. And I got fired and spent 5 months sitting around doing nothing, thinking that, or not doing nothing, but not really looking for work and not really looking to get my life back on track. And the way that it appeared to me, excuse me, was that I deserved a job at the same level, not realizing that I had been fired because I wasn't ready. I wasn't ready for that level of responsibility. And because of that, when I got fired, I sat around waiting for another job to show up. I sent resumes out, and I was dealing with a consulting company that was trying to get me work, but they just couldn't get me in. I lived too far away from where all the work was happening. No one wanted to pay the extra travel fees for me to go. I didn't want to pay the travel fees, and I was being obstinate. But mainly I was circling the toilet bowl, really, of depression, looking for excuses to just stay at home and do nothing. And I ended up getting into my hobbies a lot, which is a death sentence, I think, for a man who's been let go from a job. Staying at home and doing nothing, or just pursuing your hobbies, that's the kind of thing you should be doing when you're retired. When you're not out fixing stuff around the place, or running errands, or making yourself useful to the world. And my mate is in this position now. He's at the point where he's not he's not pursuing things that he should be pursuing in order to get his momentum back. And I'm hearing things like, I'm a helicopter parent for my dog, and I'm writing all this stuff for Dungeons and Dragons for my friends, and in my head I'm like, mate, you are knocking on the door, because the next step is that your partner, whoever you live with, unless they're a roommate, is going to lose their shit. If your partner is working and being productive and they see you, the man in the house, not productive and not working and not really contributing. It starts out with passive aggressive jabs, and then it morphs into an all-out massive blowout. And that's what happened to me. I got yelled at by my wife. I was talking to her about my fucking miniatures, and she just turned around and was just like, "Why don't you go out and get a fucking job?" And I was like, whoa. Took it personally, but the next day I had a job. And then the month after I got the job, that led me into the job that I have now, which is has been very satisfying and has been a kind of an eye-opening experience moving through my my work career in safety and human resources. I'm not exactly a well-educated person. I have an associate's degree, but most of my life I've been too lazy and not focused enough to really pursue higher education, and that's something that I've picked up recently. But I can tell where he is where I was at that time, and a part of me wants to just let him suck it up and deal with it, because that conversation's going to come sooner or later. But the other part of me wants to help him and try to get him to see the position that he's in and where he needs to get momentum going, because you won't be able to find a good job when you're just sitting on your ass. You need to get out and get working again. Give yourself a reason to want a better job. If you're sitting at home playing around in your basement, getting high and fucking playing with video games and your hobbies all day, there's no motivation to go get a good job. So you're gonna half-ass all your attempts, and then when jobs come along, you'll be like, it's not exactly what I want. I'm fine. I'm making unemployment. I'm not meaning to shit on him. He's an excellent human being. And he has the potential to be an even more excellent human being, but this pattern that he's in right now is a pattern that I've been in, and I went through all of the hurdles, and I want to try to help him get past at least the hurdle that he has to, maybe get him over the hurdle where he doesn't need to have that conversation with his partner, where he can just turn around and be like, yeah, I went out and got a job yesterday, I've been getting bored around the house. Like, okay, that's good. We don't have to have that conversation now. We can kind of avoid that. But yeah. And then, I guess that's really about it. As far as quitting is concerned, yesterday we hung out for a bit and talked about the book, and he actually gave me some excellent feedback, which was, have you explained why people should quit? And I thought about it, and I was like, well, I actually kind of wrote the book for people who already knew they wanted to quit. But I wonder how many people are out there who don't even know why they should quit, with how much information there is about how healthy marijuana is or how healthy video games are. I think there's probably a lot of people who have a misconception and they wonder why their life is shit while they're sitting there, controllers in hand, wasting their life. And they don't realize that it's the time that they're putting into these activities that just suck them back in, and they keep wasting all that time. I have another good friend who that was all he was doing for pretty much the whole of the lockdown was go to work, come home from work, get super wasted, and then play video games as long as he could until he fell asleep, and then he would wake up and work again, and then go back out and do the whole thing. Like, that was just a cycle that went over and over and over again, and I felt bad for him, because I was like, it's so antisocial. Yeah, you're playing those games with those people, but you're not meeting them in person. You're not getting the benefit of being in person, and that cycle, I think there's a lot of people out there who don't see it as a problem. Although now that I'm saying that out loud, and see, this is why I like doing these, because when the words come out, I start to hear what the inconsistencies are. If you're in that position, you're not going to want to quit anyway. You're not going to be ready to quit. So then the book isn't going to be of any use to you, because someone would give it to you and you go, I don't see that I have a problem, so they would just put the book down. So that gives me something kind of good to balance. And that right there, that's why I've been doing these talk outs, because some of the ideas that I have on paper or in my head seem like they make sense, but then when I talk them out, I'm like, oh yeah, no, there's an inconsistency there, or there's a reason why that wouldn't necessarily work. So for anyone watching, again, the one person, or Jesus, who knows, maybe that's me that's the one person watching. But if there is another person watching, that's a good reason why you should talk things out, and talk them out with yourself. if you have an idea in your head and you're having trouble getting your hands around it or getting your teeth around it and really sort of understanding what the idea is, or how to apply it in the world, talk the idea out so that you can hear it with your own ears and you can hear the inconsistencies. If you have half a brain, your brain will tell you whether or not it makes sense. Anyway, feeling good, feeling fine. Day 36. Yeah, we're staring down the barrel of 6 weeks, which is pretty exciting. That's the halfway point for 90 days for us. Not quite. It's 45 will be the halfway point, but 6 weeks there will be a reason to do something. And I've been thinking I may end up doing another video today, depending on how much time I get today or tomorrow, about a different topic, something a little bit different than what I've been talking about, just as a thing that I'd like to talk about to no one in particular. Anyway, that's it for me. Ka kite.